All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome. We are back. The Midwest Star Wars Fanatics is back, and feels good to get back on here and talk about Star Wars. We got a lot of great stuff to talk about tonight. Obviously, Andor was just released. First of all, I want to thank you again to our sponsor, TRG Toys and Collectibles, that helps make this show possible for us. Make sure you hit them up at trgtoys.com. Also, you can follow me and my co-host here, Travis, at the hashtag show. Travis in the Indiana Sloan and Star Wars Nerd 574 myself. So obviously we're going to talk a little bit about Andor tonight. We're going to actually watch the trailer, enjoy that, talk a little bit about the trailer, and then kind of go from there. But again, guys, it's good to be back. Good to be back talking Star Wars and getting back into a regular routine. I know we had a lot going on, a lot of conventions, a lot of other stuff. I think we're back and ready to rock and roll. So before we get into everything, let's go ahead and watch the Andor trailer.
To steal from the Empire? To just walk in like you belong? They're so proud of themselves. So fat and satisfied. They can't imagine that someone like me would ever get inside their house.
Cassian Andor. The Empire is choking us so slowly. We're starting not to notice. What I'm asking is this. Wouldn't you rather give it all to something real? I need all the heroes I can get.
For the greater good.
Call it what you will.
Let's call it war.
There's fermenting out there, son. Pockets of fermenting.
You're in my net. Are you a fish? Or are you a thief?
You're slipping.
I'm not slipping. I've just been hiding for too long.
As long as everyone thinks I'm an irritation, there's a good chance they'll miss what I'm really doing.
What are you really doing?
This is what revolution looks like.
I'm tired of losing.
All right. So, man, I got chills. There's something about this series that I am so excited about. I don't know if it's because of the dark times. We're getting back into the gritty of the building of the rebellion, but just unreal. This trailer probably has me as pumped as what the Obi-Wan trailer did. Before we dig into
it's a super intense trailer. You can definitely get a pretty good feel for kind of the overall tone of, to your point, is going to be pretty kind of gritty and grounded. Not expected to be a lot of Force Jedi. Like, we may not see a lightsaber, maybe outside of like a Vader appearance or something, probably for like the entire series. So I think this is going to be very much in line with what Rogue One was, now spread across multiple episodes. I think it's 12 episodes for season 1 and already confirmed, I think, for 12 episodes as well for season 2. So yeah, and that kind of montage of all the action and TIE fighters and ships and explosion. I mean, it seems like it's gonna be a lot of action. It's gonna be, I think, a pretty amped up series. So looking forward to it for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Just, and if there's no Jedi and stuff, I'm okay with that. Just because of how good Rogue One was. And hopefully it stays with that kind of thing as well. What's interesting is, there was obviously rumors that K2SO was not going to be in this as well, and that possibly not until season 2, which kind of makes sense because you can kind of time before the comic book was released.
Mhm.
So we're getting up to that point where he's probably going to find him, and then that's when we see everything kind of go from there. But just so much to kind of dig into and just get excited about. I mean, we're in a time now where there's so many possibilities, and we'll get into that as we kind of go through here. But some of the little Easter eggs, some of the stuff that really stood out to me in this trailer, and obviously is in the very beginning. You see the Star Destroyer flying over. It gives you that like New Hope kind of. They
Mhm.
always use that classic ship flying over, just get you all pumped up and ready to go. Um, I don't know. I think I got really excited with that just because of the memories that we've had with Star Wars. I mean, I don't know about how you felt with that, but for some reason, this really stuck out to me.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a nice callback to the opening of most of the original with the A New Hope for sure, but then all other Star Wars movies kind of replicated that with the ship coming in.
Yeah.
Um, I think in a way too, that being the opening shot of the trailer, and it could very well be the opening shot to the series itself, I
Yep.
think kind of illustrates that kind of impending doom, if you will, of like, hey, here's the Empire, their gigantic star destroyers just like looming over your planet to come and take it over if they haven't already
Yep.
taken over, like showing their kind of tightening their grip on the galaxy.
Yep. And then real quick, I want to say hello, Justin Lee. Good to have you on here tonight. Kate, Nick Smith. Good to see you watching. We enjoy you guys' company. And if you have any questions, any input, please throw them in the comments. We want to hear it from you. Corey Christopher as well. Yeah, it's just there's just so much. I'm just so excited. I am disappointed they pushed it back a month. But
Yeah,
I
yeah,
am
maybe
just so excited that
they're giving us 3 episodes, I guess, kind of to make up for it. But it's very straight because this is the exact same thing, not exactly, but close to it that happened with Obi-Wan. Like, oh, we're gonna delay it. We'll give you 2 episodes.
yeah.
And it's like, well, if
So
that's just gonna be like the normal, I don't know if that's gonna become like the MO now for Disney. Like, we're gonna push it back a few weeks. We'll give you more episodes.
so another thing I found very interesting is kind of our look back at we're looking back at the Senate again, which is pretty cool. Maybe we'll see ET's little character in here again. You never know, but I think this is interesting because we're really kind of seeing where we kind of butt up a little bit with, you know, we're going to start seeing some characters that obviously we've seen before. And if you're familiar with people familiar with Star Wars Rebels, we know we're at a time right now where there's 2 major projects going on. Obviously, the project leading to the Death Star, and then Thrawn's project with the new TIE Defender. So, are we going to see Thrawn involved in this? Are we going to see, obviously Krennic? And there's so much that can happen during this time. But we're seeing this power build and the Empire getting stronger. And just this, I got chills when I saw this image too. So I don't know, maybe I'm just like too excited about this show, but um, it was just pretty neat. And I mean, I don't know, everybody out here, looking here, we got a Lando cameo that could be very possible. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that could be popping up here. But what are
Yeah,
your
it's
thoughts on
not.
the Senate?
This is a pretty cool shot, I guess. I guess they rebuilt the Senate chambers after Palpatine and Yoda kind of
Yoda?
did a number on it at the end of episode 3. But yeah, it'll be kind of interesting to see because I think it's in A New Hope when they make the line that the Emperor's abolished the Senate. So there's a time period here where the Senate still is a thing. So that'll be interesting to see kind of what that dynamic is. And like I said too, we know Alderaan still exists at this point in time. So there
Yep.
may be a Bail Organa. I assume he's still a senator, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
So there could be a cameo from him. I mean, your buddy old Jar Jar Binks could be could be out there sometime. Maybe he's the representative from Naboo or something there in the Senate chamber. So, but yeah, I think like you said, there will be some characters. We'll touch on a few of them here. I think one of the interesting thing too is we know there's certain characters obviously that make it to Rogue One, and we know there's certain characters that make it into A New Hope. But a lot of the other characters I see get introduced, I have no idea if they're going, I guess it's fairly high stakes, I guess, because a lot of times you watch stuff, like, well, that person can't die. Like half the cast can't die because they have to show up later. There's a lot of characters I see pop up in the trailer. Like, well, I don't know that they exist in Rogue One or A New Hope. So, if they get into, a death situation, it could be actually, actually happen. And I think this series seems like it's going to be kind of a no holds barred, people could die throughout this thing.
Yeah. I mean, look at Rogue One. I mean, we all knew none of them were going to make it. So, we're going to have that whole situation again where we're going to get new characters and, get them bumped off as well. So, I mean, there's just so much potential and there's so much. And then, Andor, we're getting Cassian. We're going to obviously we get young Cassian. But we also see how he infiltrates, into the Empire. So this is obviously not his first time sneaking in, obviously this could be his first time, but we know he has a track record of being able to get in, and he finds a lot of uniforms that fit him very well. It's just going to be interesting to see more of kind of an origin story for him. And seeing him, how he really got involved and how he got recruited for the Rebel Alliance and stuff like that. So I'm really anxious to see where this is going to go. And we're getting a lot of comments here as well. Tom Craven, where's Thrawn? Definitely, it's good. We don't know, but I mean, this is definitely a good opportunity for him to pop up sometime around in there. We also like to see Rebel reference somewhere, obviously. Nikki Mann, thanks for watching. Palpatine does dissolve the Senate, and the building is there. So obviously we got some kind of new leadership going on as well, from Justin Lee. So, I mean, what are your thoughts on seeing this development from Cassian?
Yeah, I think it'll be really cool to see how he becomes sort of I don't want to say ruthless, but willing to kill the guy at the beginning of Rogue One, potentially kill Urso in the movie as well, because you don't just become that overnight. It reminds me a little bit, now that I'm thinking about it, of the new Daniel Craig series series of movies for James Bond, where it started off him becoming a killer, and you don't just become that overnight. You kind of grow into that more cynical, heartless, more ruthless type person, and that's maybe what we'll see here throughout the series for Andor. And I think the other thing I'm really looking forward to seeing too, we touched on it kind of at the beginning with, no Jedi, no Force sort of thing, but sort of seeing that ground level of how the control of the Empire really affected everyday sort of people. I know the Bad Batch has touched on it a little bit in some of their episodes in season 1. So I think this will kind of help further explore that, hey, at the ground level, the Empire, some people liked it and some people really didn't, and kind of how it affected people.
Yeah, definitely. There's just so much potential of seeing, and I'm hoping we see a lot more of the side of the Empire, which is looking like that's what we're going to be seeing here. And then also Justin Lee, we didn't have this picture up, but I was going to talk about a little bit. The uniforms of the Imperial Route Control Squad are the same uniforms without the mud from Solo, so we're seeing that regiment in there as well. Scott Willingham, Michael Torres, thanks for watching. Like I said, if you guys have any questions, input, please leave a comment. Let us know how you think or how excited you are about this series. But yeah, it's so cool to kind of see the building of the rebels. We're going to see it from square one. What's really interesting also about this time frame, if you think about everything kind of button up with Rebels, we know Leia's a little older, so could we see another young Leia? That's a very strong possibility, because we already know that she started very young in obviously Star Wars Rebels when she was helping deliver the ships to the Ghost Crew. So there's that potential that we'll see that. Hopefully we'll see Jar Jar. I gotta get Jar Jar my love. But there's just, again, there's so much. And when you think about it, I mean, we already know we're getting 24 episodes. So there's going to be a lot that they're going to put into this series, and I'm very excited about it.
Yeah, and I'm just trying to think too from a timeline perspective. So we just had Obi-Wan, which is 10 years, I think, before A New Hope.
Yeah.
I think if I remember correctly from I think it's Tony Gilroy, the interview he did with Vanity Fair or somebody, I think this is supposed to take place about 5 years prior to Rogue One. So we're 5 years after. Yeah, I mean, the Inquisitors are still out there doing their thing. This is going to overlap this is about the same time period, really, as Rebels to a degree as well.
The Rebels there, because Rebels is 5 years after Obi-Wan. We figured out the math and everything.
Hmm.
So we're right in that time frame. And then depending on, when, they went with either the Death Star project or the TIE Defender. So there's so much it's like we're on a collision course. Like I feel like we're on and that's what I think Disney is setting up for us is this massive collision course because we've got Ahsoka, we got we got all this stuff coming at once, and we're now kind of all in that same time frame. So
Yeah, so I do. I mean, I'm expecting there to be probably cameos and Easter eggs, like we've talked about with every single Star Wars series that's come out. I think ever since we started doing this, I do hope they do it well though, and don't overload
yeah,
and kind of fan service it too much. Although based on the tone of the trailer, I feel like they're probably going to avoid it being too kind of over the top. So I do have, I guess, faith that they're going to do it the right way.
Yep. And then Tom Craven, you kind of mentioned this, but this is going to lead right into the next thing I'm going to bring up the picture of here. So Tom Craven goes, as much as I do want to see Rebels reference, I don't want to see Fulcrum. Oh, you're probably going to see Fulcrum because we know Saul Guerrero was Fulcrum at one time. And we know that Saul is back. We see him in the trailer as well. So you're probably going to see Fulcrum as Saul Guerrero. And we kind of see, we obviously in the Clone Wars, we kind of see where he started kind of going on his own militant way. And we're going to get more of that, coming up in this series too. But you obviously couldn't have this without Saul. I really, I'm glad we're getting more of him on here. I don't know about you guys, but yeah, Tom Craven, this is, if I'm right, Saul is the original Fulcrum. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, correct me in the comments, let me know. But what are your thoughts, Travis, on this?
Yeah, at this point, I think we've seen kind of the complete evolution from freedom fighter, or not even freedom fighter, but like fighting with the Republic side against the Separatists way back in the Clone Wars cartoon. He shows up in Fallen Order. Saw Gerrera is everywhere. He's become like a mainstay here for Star Wars content. So yeah, glad to see him back. Forrest Whitaker kind of returning to that role. I think he did an excellent job. Kind of maybe to a degree, maybe underutilized and not as much screen time as he could have had in Rogue One. But that's just part of the story. Wasn't focused on him, but I think he did an excellent job. So hopefully throughout this series we get a little bit more from him.
Yeah. And then Tom comment, I meant Fulcrum as Ahsoka. There's still possibility we could see her in this too. So it's again, it's up for grabs. So when we talk about returning characters, and obviously one of the biggest impacts and the biggest influential people for the rebellion was good old Mom Mothra, and obviously we get her back in this new Senate or new whatever you want to call it. And this is also where we'll probably see Bail Organa again. And it's kind of neat to kind of see how she's working behind the scenes, which we saw a little bit of that again in Rebels when she finally announced that she was going against the Empire and everything there. So we're really seeing the beginning of this. So it's kind of neat getting some of these origin stories as well. I don't know about you guys, but I'm excited to see her in here as well.
Yeah, I think that'll be another cool aspect of this show, is seeing a focus on how the rebellion sort of came to be, kind of behind the scenes, pulling the strings, getting support. Because some of us have seen Rebels, but the thing too is by and large, probably a good majority of people that watch this series on Disney Plus have only ever watched the movies and the live action, so they don't have any kind of context. So hopefully they do balance between ties into the animated stuff that some of the fans know, but then also still explaining it well enough for the people that would be new to the character.
Yeah. So again, and I try to look in this background to see if I can find any hidden Easter eggs. I didn't see E.T. Didn't see Jar Jar. I'm still looking right now as we're doing this, but yeah, it's really neat to go. And Tom, I agree. Yes, everybody needs to watch Rebels. It's definitely a show that once you get going into it, it's probably one of the better storylines with Star Wars. But we'll get into that another time here. But yeah, just again, after watching the trailer and talking about this, I'm just so excited about us learning more of the Empire's chokehold on everything, and then watching this rebellion, build from the start again, and just really kind of taking charge. I know there's a lot of people are excited when they saw some of the other Easter eggs from the Ahsoka trailer, which is now leaked out finally, and so I finally got to see see that. And I said I didn't get to see it at Celebration. But there's a lot of these characters that are a big part of the rebellion, and we know that they're part of this because we've seen them in Rebels. So I mean, I really think we're going to get a strong Rebels tie-in. I know we keep saying Rebels like 500 times in the show already, but that's where we're at right now. I mean, do you think I'm crazy, or do you think this is where we kind of tie into everything getting together?
Yeah, I mean, it certainly makes sense to use this as kind of a hub, if you will, to introduce characters like Thrawn, Sabine, the Rebels characters that people that haven't watched the animated series might not be familiar with. So then when they turn around and watch it next spring, when Ahsoka comes out, they have some context for, hey, who the heck's this blue guy with red eyes, and why do I care about this Mandalorian with spray paint, colorful helmets and things. So this would be a good opportunity to introduce those characters. I don't expect them to be like a major focus of this particular series. I think it'll still be Mon Mothma, Andor, some of these new characters that we're seeing, but I think they'll be alluding to some of the other characters, maybe some cameo appearances, just so then again to kind of set the stage for people aren't coming into completely blind when Ahsoka comes out next spring.
Yeah, it's definitely, like I said, I really think we're heading to that collision course. Kind of like our Marvel moment, with the Avengers and everything else. As much as like a lot of people say we want to see stuff different, and real quick, want to shout out Stephen Costino. Good to see you on here. The Gamorrean Guard from Return of the Jedi himself is watching tonight. Stephen, glad to have you here, and always good to see you watching. And hopefully we'll see some Gamorrean Guards for him as well. Because
I don't know the last time the last Gamorrean Guards that showed up in a Disney Plus series, it didn't go so well.
Yeah,
man,
what, too soon? A couple other good questions here. Nick Smith, can we just talk about Rebels? We'll have another Rebels show here soon. Don't worry. We always like to talk about Rebels. Do you think we could see an occupied Mandalore? Very possible, from Justin Lee. And also, here's a good one. We always get scared of CGI. Obviously we were worried about Cad Bane, and the Inquisitor and stuff like that. If they do a Zeb, do you think we'll get a combo practical kind of CGI character? That's one I would think would be really interesting if they do a Zeb on there.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Yeah, I mean, they're able to do Wookiees really well with, we saw the Black Chrysanthemum, costume at Celebrations of the Mandalorian experience. So my assumption is they probably would go with more of a practical approach to it, like they've done with Cad Bane and some of the other characters. Yeah, because that'd be a really strange translation from animated to live action, just that character. So that would be sketchy. Hopefully they would do a good job if they do have him show up.
So probably, I mean, other than like the Dark Troopers and stuff, I'm a big fan of Death Troopers, and we're getting like a lot of the cool ones all back in here. And then we got this mystery officer here, so this will be interesting to see who she plays. Is it another spy? Is it somebody who's going to? I mean, obviously, who knows anymore with how people are going to go on here. But yeah, Death Troopers, you can never go wrong with Death Troopers, and I always like to see them. And hopefully they still have that sound where you can't understand what they're saying. Because I know in Rebels that's the one downfall. If I did grind my gears, what grinds my gears in Rebels, they actually had them talking where you could understand them, and it kind of bugged me a little bit on that. But it's good to see them back. Obviously, this person is probably going to have a major role, in the upcoming episodes as well.
Just thank Funko all the Death Trooper molds you can re-release because you've already put them out, and just slap the Andor logo on the box, and we'll have Imperial Trooper remold it, now with blonde hair and female face compared to darker hair male face. I can just see all the merchandising that's going to come out of this, with all the characters being reintroduced we already have toys for.
Yeah. And who knows, maybe we even get Grogu somewhere. I don't know. He seems to be popping up all over the place now. I can't believe I just brought him up. But all right, so obviously, so much potential, so much with everything going on. We're in such a gritty time in the Empire. I'm so excited for it. But we're also getting some new characters, which is kind of cool. We're getting a new droid here, which is kind of like he reminds me a little bit, and I'm going to date myself here a little bit. If you guys remember the old Disney, the Black Hole, good old Bob, it kind of reminds me of that kind of concept a little bit. Travis, I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but I can tell by your face there. Hopefully someone backs me up in the comments here with that Disney movie. That Travis, that's your homework assignment, is to watch the Black Hole.
Yes, I've not seen that one.
But this is I think it's B2EMO, if I am not mistaken, or Zero, whatever the last one is here, which is cool. We're getting a new droid, but obviously, and the way I'm looking at it, I got a feeling this droid's going to get knocked off, because then he's going to need K2SO. So, I mean, I'm already looking at the dark and thinking his future's already been told. So I don't know. I mean, what do you think, Travis?
Yeah, I mean, it's fairly standard, I guess, these days. There's always going to be some sort of a new droid that gets introduced. Maybe there's some concept droids from way back in the day that they're leveraging for this. Kind of they've done that in a couple other series. They found some concept droids from that weren't used in the originals, which is always kind of cool to see those old designs get used. But yeah, I mean, hopefully they're not too mean to them. I mean, they had Lola, who survived in Obi-Wan. That's a fan favorite. So now we're gonna have B2EMO, I guess. Hopefully he makes it and does a good job. Because I'm for whatever reason, fans and us, we're very sentimental and partial to these droids that pop up.
Oh, I mean, if you think about it, I mean, the droids, I mean, especially, I mean, K2SO is probably, and I know everyone's going to start yelling at me at this, but he went over R2 on me. Like, he is like, it's K2SO and then R2 for me, just because K2SO's attitude. There was something about that droid, so it was kind of sad to see him, I'm sorry if you haven't watched, Rogue One. Spoiler, everybody, K2SO doesn't make it. These droids, I mean, even Dio from the Rise of Skywalker and stuff, like, it was just cool little droids. So you got B1 droid, you got all kinds of stuff that you're right, the droids are kind of they attach to you, kind of like porgs. So I'm sorry, B2, I'm calling B2EMO, I like that. B2EMO, sorry, but I feel your days are numbered, and K2SO will be your replacement. So you guys heard that here first. All right, that's my call for the series. K2SO does not make it. Sorry, or not K2SO. We already know that one. B2EMO. Also, real quick, Bonnie, thanks for watching. Noel, welcome. We enjoy you guys having here. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please leave them there, and we'll get to them. We're having a great time tonight, guys. It's really great to be back and talking Star Wars. We've been on hiatus for a little bit. So I want to thank you guys all for watching and dealing with us and just having some fun here with two guys that just love Star Wars, and that's it. So also with return of people, we know in Rogue One, Saul Guerrero had his little crew. And I'm gonna call him Tube Guy. I'm sure he has a name. I forgot it, and if he does, I'm sorry, but I'm gonna call him Tube Guy. We're gonna get him in there. But what I thought was interesting was that X-wing down there. It looks pretty badass. I'm sorry, YouTube, if I can't say that. You can bleep it. It's pretty cool looking. I mean, but obviously I see Lego doing another X-wing here soon. As soon as I saw that, I mean, this is pretty neat, because you're seeing kind of some of the ships, some of the older stuff that we kind of see in Rebels, how they kind of acquire fleets and stuff and stealing ships and everything. And so I thought this was a pretty cool scene. And I'm not sure where they are. I don't know if they're at Jeddah here at the time, or we're kind of at. There's a lot of grass. Looks like there's some grass there, so I'm not thinking that's where it's at.
I was wondering. I was wondering the same thing, if this was going to be Jeddah, but I feel like that was all kind of more desert location. So I mean, this could also be the planet that we see at the beginning, because that was kind of seemed like a more green, lush type planet where Cassian Andor is from originally, his home planet. So I see somebody threw into Yavin. I mean, it's possible it could be the base on Yavin. Maybe they've been there for a couple years by the time A New Hope shows up.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously we'll probably get new planets. We seem to always do that, but I wonder if they'll do it like in Rogue One, because it was weird, because they would show a planet and then they would do like the subtitle of the planet. So it'll be interesting if they kind of keep that same you know, that same feeling with it, especially like when they did the
Mhm.
beginning. Because how weird was it when they started it and it didn't even have the scroll or anything? It was just like, doop, and
Oh,
then you
right.
started everything. So I wonder if they're going to do kind of that same feeling. That's also my great Rogue One soundtrack there, guys. So so if you guys enjoy that, I'll have more some other show. But obviously, Andor, it's going to be fun. I think it's just going to be one of those gritty, down to basics. I mean, it's not going to be something that, there's going to probably be a lot of filler episodes, but I think they're all going to have some kind of feeling, some kind of meaning, and it's going to
Mhm.
really just kind of be an impactful part for the history of Star Wars and kind of where we get to what I grew up with, and then what everybody's seen, from then, how everything ties together.
Yeah, and I think one of the interesting things too with this particular series is they did not shoot it at the volume. So the
Yeah,
big 360
yeah,
setup that they've done The Mandalorian and assuming Ahsoka and those other series with, this one they went kind of more practical sets out there. I think it was in Scotland, if I remember. I think
yeah,
they built like the village and they built all these
yeah,
practical sets and things. So it'd be interesting to see. Again, I think that'll kind of play into its realism, more grounded sort of feeling to it.
yeah, yeah. And that's it's going to be. It's just. I, it's going to be to me, and I know you'll probably like this way I'm thinking of it. It's going to be like that dirty western. It's going to
Mhm.
be kind of just out there, gunslingers. It's going to be, you don't know who to trust. It's just going to be that show. I mean, look at Rogue One. I mean, like I said, Andor, like he had no problem off and off somebody that was supposed to be helping him because he couldn't get
Mhm.
away. And it was just it's one of those. It's going to be one of those shows that's going to be like, oh crap, did that really just happen? This is
Mhm.
what's going on. So very anxious to see it. Don't forget, September 21st, Andor will be hitting Disney Plus. We'll be getting 3 episodes, so that'll be a fun watch that night because I'm sure I'll be up. And of course, we'll be talking about them, pretty soon after that as well on the Midwest Star Wars Fanatics Live. Again, April Jordan, thanks for watching. Aaron, thanks for watching. We're glad you guys are here. Again, if you are here, say hi. We want to hear from you. So obviously, now we're going to get away from this a little bit because we have some other shows that are coming out, like should be soon,
Mhm.
and that's what I think is interesting. We haven't heard yet because Tale of the Jedi is supposed to be coming out here. The Bad Batch season 2. So I mean, we're going to have a lot of Star Wars crammed at us here really quick. Um, and like when it comes to the animated series, and what I'm looking forward to is just the fact that we're getting the Tales of the Jedi, not so much the Ahsoka stuff, but Count Dooku. I'm very anxious to see that story
Mhm.
from there. I mean, I don't know about you on those ones, and then obviously once we get that, and then the Bad Batch season 2 trailer was amazing. There was stuff, and I'm not going to try to spoil it. There was stuff we saw at Celebration that I just about spoiled, and I deleted them. So if you saw it, I'm sorry, but they did show 2 different trailers for that. So I mean, we have a lot coming. I mean, what intrigues you about this lineup, Travis?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the first question or intriguing thing is how are they going to fit it all in? Because we have the first 3 episodes of Andor on September 21st, and then assuming it goes weekly after that, that's 9 weeks through. That takes you into November,
Yeah,
which I think is after Disney or somebody I think released accidentally on Disney Plus at one point the date for the Bad Batch, I think being towards the end of October.
yeah,
Um, so, maybe they surprise us towards the end. Maybe there's a couple weeks where it's 2 episodes for the finale of Andor, and they, condense it down from that actual nine full weeks on the calendar. Since it got pushed back a whole month, they're going to be kind of running into things. So beyond that, though, I mean, I think yeah, Bad Batch season 2 looks excellent. They'll be touching on very similar time periods here, very similar sort of things of dealing with the Empire and what they're up to and kind of growing. Tales of the Jedi, I think, will be really fun too. We got to see the first episode there at the
yeah,
celebration. And at first I was kind of like, oh, another animated thing, more Jedi stuff, not really in my wheelhouse of things I really like. But that first episode was excellent. And then just hearing Dave Filoni talk about kind of the process and how these
yeah,
came to be and his kind of vision behind putting these together to tell some stories and connect the dots for things like Dooku and how he fell to the dark side and things like that. So I do think this will be pretty cool. You know, he threw out that caveat too that, hey, if you come into this thinking it's for kids because it's animated, you're going to be surprised at some of the stuff that happens. So I'm definitely looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of, I mean, the rest of this year after, you know, we get to the end of September, it's going to be this nonstop Star Wars stuff.
I mean, Filoni's exact words was, "That's the reason why he showed us just the Ahsoka clip, because the Dooku was too dark to show." So I'm anxious to see how bad it gets. So, but yeah, we just so much coming out, and then Ahsoka next year, and then who knows, maybe we'll get a movie sooner or later. I really hope so, because I want to see some Star Wars on the big screen. Really looking forward to that. So, kind of going from the movies and everything. Obviously, this past weekend was C2E2, which unfortunately I didn't get to go. Travis got to enjoy it. But C2E2 the last 2 weeks before that just dropped like the Star Wars like surprises left and right. I mean, you had, you know, Moses Ingram, you had Rupert Friend, you had Rosie O'Dawson, you had, I mean, and then like little Leia, like, I mean, it was just like, if you were a Star Wars fan and this stuff all coming out right now, this was a great time to be there. And I mean, obviously, Leia and Vivian, I think stole the show. Like, you see the pictures and stuff there, and she just like was eating it up, which was awesome. I'm glad fans are, showing her the Star Wars love. But I mean, other than waiting in line for 5 hours for other
than the C2 / Reed Pop, not sure exactly who to direct my ire towards, who's in charge of the autograph no time slot idea, but not the best. Maybe we can do better with that in the future. But no, it was, like you said, it was a lot of Star Wars people added just a few weeks before, which is kind of unexpected in a way. I mean, there were some fairly big people that just a few weeks before, people have kind of already made up their mind if they're going to go or not, and then they just somehow pulled out all the stops and dropped all sorts of people. But yeah, no, it was great to see Vivian there and her kind of reception that people were giving her. Very much different than how Jake Lloyd and other younger actors were treated back in the prequel days. I mean, heck, even Hayden Christensen to a degree back in the prequels, everybody was like, oh, he's so bad. Now he finally gets the kudos and things that he deserves. But yeah, it was really cool. One of the highlights for me, actually, my girlfriend Nikki and I, we were actually there standing outside the autograph area, and I was on my phone, and I look up and she points out, that's her. Vivian just ran past, and I look, and there's a little girl with like braids, like running like through us down the convention hall. And I'm like, oh, this seems like not a great idea. We should probably follow, because her mom was like carrying a tote bag, like trying to keep up with her. And so we actually caught up to him, and she went to one of the lightsaber vendors and was signing some lightsaber blades, because that vendor had gifted Vivian one of the custom lightsabers. She wanted to go talk to him. So we chatted with the mom, and she's like, all these people were talking about how it's so unrealistic to have her run around and get away from Flea and the rest of the people and the stuff in the crowds. And I was like, no, we saw it firsthand. She's actually really difficult to catch in a crowd, because I saw it firsthand. So that was just kind of a cool little moment to kind of see. And then, what really got to me, I thought was really cool, was other kids like her age that recognized her would like come over and like giving her high fives, just like watching like 10-year-olds and like small kids kind of interact and share a love over Star Wars. Was like, hey, this is kind of what being a Star Wars fan's about. It's not complaining about, breaking canon, or that's not good, or I didn't like the translation from animated to live action. Ahsoka's monotails aren't right. All the adults, we complain about these things, but man, at its core, it's all just about having a shared love and kind of coming together and like appreciating what we have.
Yeah. It's just that lineup there. Like I really, really wish I could have went, but obviously right now I have other things to deal with. But hopefully I'll be getting back on the convention trail here soon. And speaking of other conventions, now I know there's some big ones out there, but we like to try to keep everything kind of Midwest focus here. Now we obviously got Cincinnati Comic Con or Comic Expo coming up, which is interesting because really the only person that Christopher Lloyd will be there, which is confirmed to be in Mandalorian season 3. So they'll be anxious to see what character he is or how big of a role he has in there. And then the only other person I saw so far for Star Wars was Kim Simmons, who was one of the photographers who all the toys that we saw back in the day, he was the one that took those pictures and put them on the boxes and all those displays and the ads and stuff. So it was pretty interesting there. Coming up in Indy is I got my notes here wrong here. On September 9th and 11th, we've got the All Monsters Attack. Now, this is a very interesting lineup of people. First of all, if you're a Godzilla fan like me, you have just about every Godzilla person involved with this convention, but obviously we'll talk about that offline. But you also got Finney Taylor, who was, if you guys remember, the dancer that fell when Jabba opened his trapdoor to the Rancor. You got Tom O'Connell, who was one of the Vaders in the Obi-Wan series. Chris Bartlett, who obviously played, he was a lot of the droids, Zero and the Mandalorian. He plays also C-3PO. He does a lot of the droids in the series. Misty Rosa, who is the Frog Lady, and also I just lost his name. Not Crawl, but that's son-in-law. But wore the costume, the guy that Nick Nolte voiced. And then you also got Dustin, I think it's Grimmeyer, who was that droid that held the hammer, and Obi-Wan that looked like he was getting ready to smash the stormtroopers with, that didn't talk, that helped them get through the tunnels and everything there. So you got a very interesting lineup, a Star Wars lineup there, coming to Indy here on September. And then for those who have missed the many appearances of Ashley Eckstein and Matt Leinart and stuff, we also got GalaxyCon in Columbus. That is December 2nd and 4th. There you have, again, Matt Leinart, Ashley Eckstein, James Arnold Taylor is going to be there. So you got a pretty full lineup. I'm thinking, see if I missed anybody on that one. So a lot of great conventions. If you need those Star Wars autographs, especially here in the Midwest, if you're traveling, Rhode Island Comic-Con is a huge one. There's a lot of Star Wars that's going to be up there. So I don't know. I mean, Travis, any of these really sticking out to you that you're going to want to try to maybe pop into here in the future, or?
Yeah, I mean the All Monsters one seems kind of interesting to a degree. I didn't mention it, but one of the other kind of highlights from C2E2 for me was getting to go up and talk with Brendan Wayne for a few minutes and just talking to him, kind of his experience on working with the Mandalorian, and just super nice guy. For those of you that don't know, he's in the suit for the Mandalorian for a good majority of the time. He doesn't do, I think, as many of the physical stunts. Things Lateef Crowder does a lot of the more hand-to-hand fighting sort of stuff, and obviously Pedro Pascal's the voice. But so I think you get a lot of really good stories from those types of people that are there on set in the suits doing things. So I assume Misty Rosas would have some great stories to talk about, like her time in Star Wars, and Chris Bartlett being the droid and all these things too. So, even though they're not necessarily as big of names like a Ewan McGregor or Hayden Christensen or Ashley or something, totally recommend, go. The autographs aren't that expensive. Go get a photo, get an autograph, spend a few minutes talking, because usually their lines aren't that long. So you have a little bit more time to sit there and kind of interact and talk with them and about Star Wars. So that was kind of a really cool thing for me. So I, again, just recommend do the same sort of thing. Go to those type of conventions, talk to those people, show them the love that we appreciate the work that they do. It's not always just the big name people that make Star Wars what it is.
Yeah, it's unreal, especially some of the relationships that, I've built with some of these actors and talking with them and stuff. And they're down to earth. You hear some great stories, and it's just one thing after another that you just get even more excited about Star Wars. So I guess if I do travel, if I'm able to, obviously that's probably my number one, and then probably Columbus, and then Cincinnati, because now I got to add Lloyd to my Mandalorian poster.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, who wants to go to Columbus, Ohio State. Just
Yeah,
wants to go. But see,
but-
what happens if you get it signed and then they cut his scene for some reason in season 3?
I mean, I guess I'll have
you
his
get to like
autograph
white
on
out the
there.
poster. You're just gonna live with it as like an error.
I mean, technically, he said that it's in there and it's been confirmed. So I mean, I'll just take it as deleted scene.
Right.
It's being advertised as him being in it. So I mean, I'm just gonna take the gamble on there. So that poster will be completely full one day. I mean, it'll be a tough one to get a couple autographs on there, but it will happen on there. So I mean, with that, everybody, we want to thank you all tonight. We do have again in September the charity auction. We are still getting some amazing donations. I can't wait to announce some of them here. Hope to announce them by the end of this week or next week. And kind of talk about that. And so, I mean, we have some great autographs that you guys already saw. You know, some of the ones that I have talked about. Sarah Michelle Gellar, Inquisitor autograph has been donated. We're getting some pretty cool stuff that on there. Right now, just to be kind of the Debbie downfall or Debbie Downer or whatever you want to call it. Right now, the glass has been delayed. We probably will not have a charity glass this year. Unless somehow we come up with something here by the end of it, by the holidays. Still working on making it happen, but I know a lot of people were really hoping for another glass this year, but we'll see what happens on that there, so I apologize for that. I will have a new date for the Ronald McDonald House Toy Drive here soon. Working on some details with that. Again, the wish list is up. I just have to repost a link for everybody and kind of go on from there. So with that, I mean, again, guys, just want to thank you all. I know Travis and I, we've been out for a little bit. It's good to be back here. Very excited to get the show up and running again. We had a great crowd tonight. A lot of great comments, a lot of great interaction and stuff. And we just got a lot of great Star Wars content headed our way. So, I mean, I don't know, Travis, you got anything else to add for tonight?
Yeah, no, just again, thanks to everybody that tuned in here live. Definitely love seeing the comments and the bring back Dash Rendar from Justin. Right on cue as always.
Yep.
And for anybody that watches this, after the fact, because it'll be posted on YouTube and then here on the Midwest Star Wars Fanatics page. Yep. Look forward to seeing you guys next time. And thanks for watching and listening to us two kind of knuckleheads just talk about Star Wars.
Yep.
It's a privilege to be able to do it and definitely enjoy it.
And then one day I'll probably get to celebrate the return of Jar Jar with you all. So I'm ready for that to happen. But until then, everybody stay safe, stay healthy. I know the good old COVID's been getting some of the people from C2E2 now. I'm seeing some positive people pop up from there. So just take care of yourselves. I cannot wait to see you guys at a convention again. And until then, may the Force be with you.